The Amazon is burning. The rainforest is dying. For weeks now, jungle fires have raged out of control. But this is not Brazil, it's eastern Bolivia. It's the front line of an environmental catastrophe nobody's talking about.
Más para allá, más para allá. Recto, 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 seguí. Pasalo el juego.
Ill-equipped and exhausted, these firefighters have not had a day off in weeks. Their spades and sprays no match for the inferno. It's not rained here for months. This blaze was set off by a single spark that landed here in from another fire a few kilometers away.
Sí, como puede ver, es algo bien impredecible. Incluso esta zona que acabo de decirle que está relativamente controlada, que la estamos manejando, puede en cualquier momento cambiar por las características del terreno, ¿no?
The Bolivians have now accepted offers of international help, a belated admission that the size and nature of this emergency is beyond their control. As dawn breaks, the scale of the devastation becomes clearer. Some 25 kilometers away lies the smoldering remains of Juan Bustio's banana plantation. It's been completely destroyed.
Tengo que esperar un año, porque va a florecer bien. Mire, esto igual como ha quemado.
All the land around his house has been laid waste.
Por eso es que no he ido hasta ahorita. Me da pena. Ahora, ¿en cuántos años va a tardar vuelta todo esto, lo que está quedando la desolación? Para poderlo ver y poder respirar ese aire puro que botan las plantas, los árboles más que todo.
Juan has lost everything. He doesn't even know where his next meal will come from. From now on, simple survival will be his main concern. More than 2 million hectares of forest have vanished in the last few months. And just like in Brazil, government policies are being blamed. Bolivia's President Evo Morales is a left-wing populist with supposed green credentials, a man who likes to say he puts Pachamama, or Mother Earth, first.
La Madre Tierra puede existir mejor sin el hombre. El hombre no puede existir sin la Madre Tierra.
He has been busying himself with firefighting photo opportunities while blaming a long-running drought for the catastrophe. In reality, new laws allowing farmers to clear even more jungle using slash and burn methods are culpable. The idea was to boost the economy, producing beef, cattle, and soy to export to China. But as the blazes ran out of control, they've exposed a system that favors large agri-businesses over both smallholders and the environment. Back on the front line, the pressure is relentless. It is going to need more than water, shovels, and bravery to solve this crisis.
No avanza. Escúcheme. Cuando vamos adelante, los atrás vayan rematando, pero rápido. Es que no podemos a su paso que van. Tienen que moverse rápido.
Eso es lo que, por ejemplo, ahorita fui apagando. Y
vamos por eso y...
No venía de Vamos, eso.
Guillermo Galdos with that special report from Bolivia. Well, in the last few weeks, thousands of people have taken to the streets across Bolivia protesting about the fires as President Evo Morales seeks a fourth presidential term in the country's election next month. I'm now joined by Jimena Venegas, who is an anthropologist and one of the founders of Action for Bolivia, and Claire Sakia, the Director of Climate Change Research at the International Institute for Environment and Development. Welcome to you both. Let me start with you, Jimena. I mean, there's a real sense of urgency about these fires in Bolivia. The government there says it is trying everything to put them out. Do you believe them?
Thank you very much first for having me here. We have been moving, acting, screaming, we don't know what else to do to call for a national disaster in our country. If we were doing everything possible, the fires would have stopped when we already had 500,000 hectares already consumed.
So they're not doing enough.
Right now we have 2.2 million hectares of not only Amazon, the Amazon rainforest in Bolivia, but La Chiquitania dry forest, which contains endemic species unique to this area of the world.
Protected by UNESCO, right?
Protected by UNESCO as a heritage site. We also have fires already seen in the Noel Mercado, 15 kilometers away, which is also a heritage site, also protected by UNESCO. We also have 6 people that have died. 3 already died this past Sunday. We have millions of wildlife already completely calcinated. So no, we are not doing everything that is possible that can be done. The volunteers are asking for more equipment. We're asking for machinery, for heavy machinery that comes in. We're asking for not the volunteers to be doing, we're asking for manpower to be there in the ground.
Okay, so you're very involved in this. How much awareness is there in the rest of the country that this is happening? And how much do people care?
I mean, I am aware because people in my country were calling, my friends, my family, everyone is desperate. People are mobilizing. This campaign and basically the awareness that we all have has been because of people and influencers in the grounds moving, and the firefighter volunteers that have been there seeing the fires, the indigenous people that are calling for action, that have already started a march against and the protection of their habitats.
So what happened to Evo Morales? He was elected. I was there for his first election. You know, this is like, you know, a decade ago or so, when he was the friend of the indigenous people.
Years.
Exactly. He was the friend of indigenous people. He was going to protect the environment. He was going to protect the Amazon rainforest. What happened?
I am not sure what happened, but what I can tell you is that if you look into the legislations of the past 12 years, the expansion of agricultural business and the expansion and lack of protection of the land and of forest areas have been increasing and have been growing, leaving completely lonely indigenous people from the lowland, Chiquitanos, Ayoreos, Guaranis.
Okay.
That's what I can tell you.
Let's turn to Claire Sakia. I mean, you know, we have in Evo Morales, this man who's gone through a journey himself. He would say, you know, I'm going to try and protect these forests, but I also have to make some money for my country. And the way I'm going to make money is to sell lots and lots of beef to places like China that want it. Where's the right balance here?
Well, we're facing a climate emergency, and all governments have signed up to the Paris Agreement to tackle climate.
Apart from actually Bolivia, right?
Okay, most governments have.
Yes.
The issue is, under that agreement, there is a commitment to support countries to take action on climate change. So we should be working with all of the actors across Bolivia, not just the central government, but local government, community groups, etc., to find solutions to this challenge. This is a climate emergency, and we do have to act as fast as we can, and that requires a different way of working than we have been today.
Okay, so how do you clear land to produce enough food and space for enough cattle to sell 8,000 tons of meat to China? How do you do that?
Well, I'm not sure that that's the right solution. That's been a solution that somebody has come up with, whether it's from China or Bolivia. But when we work with communities, and we know that from our own research, when we work with communities about how they think they should thrive in the face of climate change, they come up with very ingenious solutions. We should be listening to them, working with them, and encouraging a community response that allows them to thrive in the future, and their children and their children's children to thrive in those contexts.
So is the answer for governments like Evo Morales is to listen more to, you know, to people like Jimena?
Yes, I mean, I think we have to listen. It's a whole of society response that's needed on climate change, and that requires us to listen to everyone and work together to find solutions that work for the economy as well as for people.
But it's also a question of global governance, isn't it? If we in the West decide, having already made lots of money and, you know, being sort of saturated economies, that actually it's time to save the planet, how do we take the right to say to people in Bolivia, one of the poorest countries, that they have to stop doing certain things? How do you do that without sounding like an environmental colonialist?
I think the answer is to be listening, not telling. We are working with a number of countries at the moment where, when you listen very carefully to what they find, they see as the solutions, it's not to cut down the forests, and it's not to turn everything into pasture. It's actually for a much more sensible set of responses, looking after the landscape, because they know their children have to survive in that location as well. So the biggest issue has been where aid and trade policies are not matching the commitments made under Paris. We need to make sure that every policy we have is responding to the climate emergency.
Okay, so Jimena, how do you get, you know, someone like Evo Morales on side? He wants to make money for his country. He's one of the poorest countries in the world. But at the same time, you want to protect the forest. How do you get that message to him?
Well, the only message that currently I have is that if we don't stop the fires, we are going to be destroying entire environments and the biodiversity that our country has been nurturing and has been protecting for years. We're going to be destroying the homes of Ayoreo, Chiquitanos, and Guarani
But
communities.
long term, there has to be a strategy, both for economic growth and protecting the environment.
Well,
so where do you see the compromise?
I cannot tell you where I see the compromise at the moment.
But you have to see the compromise somewhere.
I am not the person that should be doing this legislation. It's supposed to be, that's why we're calling for a national disaster right now, so that the proper investigation is done to see what is going on in the country, what are the legislations that led us to this moment, which are the decree supreme of 3973 that are allowed for...
Okay, but without a compromise, Claire, without a compromise...
It is possible to grow your economy in a green way. And if we're not, every single policy has to be about a climate response, whether that's agriculture or aid or trade. And there are many solutions out there. We know them, they're proven. We just need to start to listen to communities and work with them to find the right solutions. These trade-offs are not unresolvable.
So it can be done?
It can be done.
We just have to be practical.
It can happen.
Yeah.
And we need to stop the fires.
You've got to leave it there.